Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin today's episode, I just wanted to tell you that we had some audio difficulties on with Josh's side of the show. We tried our best trying to fix the audio, but unfortunately, it may not come out that good. But still, it's still kind of decipherable, so you can probably understand some of the stuff that he's saying. But I apologize for that, and enjoy the show. Thank you very much. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Story to Screen podcast, the movie podcast where we review all different kinds of movies, new and old. I am your host, Chris.
And I am Dead Silence, Joshua Ling.
And with us again is my previous co-host from the Pacific Rim episode, Trey Boles. Welcome back, Trey.
Hello, good to be back.
Nice to have you back.
I'm here till Tuesday.
Nice to have you back. It's been a long time since the last time we had you on the show. So,
Yep, and I'm glad to be back. I miss being on the Desolation of Smog review. I have some differing opinions than you, so that I think that would have been a lot of fun.
Well, you know, it is what it is. And this is actually a milestone for us. This is the first time in our show that we've done, or that we've had three people on the show at the same time. So this should be kind of interesting.
Yeah, we all get to talk at the same time.
Yep.
Three hosts.
At the same time.
Yeah, three ways.
Three amigos.
There you go. We'll...
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
So who's the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Well, obviously,
I'm the
I'm
good. Actually, no, I would like to consider myself the bad. I would.
I'm the delicious.
You're the what?
I'm the delicious.
Okay.
This is getting awkward. Let's move on.
Okay. On today's movie review, we'll be reviewing the Lego Movie from the creators who brought you Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and 21 Jump Street. But before we go into our review, I would like to make a special announcement. Thank you, audiences, for making our Flywheel episode our highly viewed episode of the series. It's at 230 and counting as we speak. So thank you very much. I know that's not like a huge number, but I'm still grateful for those numbers, to say the least. And hopefully it'll continue to grow with that episode and with future episodes to come. So thank you very much.
Yeah, wow. Well, I wonder what makes that, such an interesting, review that you're getting so many views on that. I wonder if it has to do with material, or I wonder if it was marketed different.
I don't know. I mean, I've got some other YouTube videos on there that are not Story to Screen, and it's the most highly watched. So I'm like, wow, that's a huge blessing. So we'll just go ahead and just dive into our review.
Hello, I'm Emmett. I'm just going to come right out. I have no idea what's going on at all.
My fellow master builders, including but not limited to Superman, Wonder Woman, The Mermaid, Green Ninja, 1980-something Space Guy, Michelangelo, and the 2002 NBA All-Stars. We have learned that Lord Business plans to end the world as we know it. There is yet one hope. The special has arisen.
I think I got it, but just in case, tell me the whole thing again. I wasn't listening.
Well, guys, if you were to tell me 5 years ago that they were making a Lego movie, my first question would be to you is, okay, well, is it going to be, what is their approach to it? Because, the previous Lego movies that they have done have always been these CGI, very unappealing, computer-generated movies that, really were kind of, low budget and all that stuff. But if you were to tell me that it was a stop-motion movie with a combination of CGI, I have to see it in order to believe it. And that trailer truly convinced me of of that. And I've got to say, and then just going to see it on opening day was quite an astonishing thing. I mean, I really liked the Lego Movie. I had so much fun watching it. I would probably say it's been the most fun I've had at a movie theater since the Avengers. It was that type of movie. It wasn't as nostalgic as I hoped it was going to be, but we'll get into that later. But it was definitely just showing you the purpose of, having fun, and it was, I don't know, it kind of brought out the kid in me to some degree, and just seeing all these Legos and all that stuff. It was just great to see that world brought to life in a really interesting way. But anyway, I'll leave it to you guys to give your opinions.
Essentially, the first things I'm going to have to say is the very few nitpicky negative things. I was just going to get those out of the way immediately. One thing I think can be said for it is extremely compressed in that there is a whole lot of stuff going on at every single turn. And so sometimes it's kind of hard to take everything in all at once. But that also adds to rewatchability, so also, the story, I will admit, is somewhat cliche in places, but it's done so well. And I'll go ahead and say, I feel like cliches aren't cliches fully if they're done really, really well like this. It doesn't matter if we've seen it a million times before. What rings true is what rings true, as long as it continually rings true. As far as positives go, I felt like this was really the comedy in this was really a return to form for Warner Brothers. This kind of humor felt influenced by internet culture in a certain way, but also very much if the Looney Tunes were influenced by internet culture. It felt very, very quick, very fast, and just absolutely hilariously delightful. So.
Trey, your thoughts?
But I'd say, I really enjoyed it. The way they animated it, I mean, most people when they think Lego movies, they either think they're very abstract digital animation, like most Lego movies, or they're thinking stop motion. And the way they combined the two in the Lego movie was just fantastic. The things that they did, just sort of the little twerks here and there, the way the hair sort of bounced, or the way the water acted was just so fantastic. And I love the little things that they did. It was just great. And I think that the scope was pretty interesting. I think one of the ways I would describe the movie would be abstract, in that they like to shift to different scales of Lego. Sometimes they'd sort of pull back and they'd have I guess micro figures is what they'd call it. They have little micro builds that they would use to represent the city or whatever, or little ships. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I think this, from the beginning to the end, like you're saying, it really epitomizes. It sort of it condenses the whole feeling and the whole idea of playing with Legos of just being very abstract. You just build whatever you want, play however you want, and it would just flowed very, very well. It was almost dreamlike just watching it. It was just so nice.
Yeah. Well, you guys kind of talked a little bit about the story, but in a way, this movie kind of uses the whole the hero of the journey story, but does a parody on itself. Do you guys agree on that?
Well, I think that they parodied some elements of it, but played it overall in a straight way. And the reason that is...
Well, they flipped it around.
Correct. But I will say this, and we usually do spoilers, so I'm cool with it doing that, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The fact that this whole entire story was being told by a little kid explains exactly how parts of it were parody and goofy and strange and wacky and just, 80s space guy, build a spaceship?
Yeah.
Little kid excited about building a spaceship. I mean, that makes perfect sense. He's excited about all these different things. And kids at a very young age just being, exposed to monomyth and the hero's journey and everything, when they're exposed to that at a young age, they try and, in the literal sense of the word, parody it. They try to parrot it. They try and regurgitate it as much as they can, but it comes out funny and slightly different and strange. There were certain parts that were played very, very straight because a kid would play those parts very, very straight. And then there are other parts where the kid would be like, "Okay, this is boring, but we got to hit this beat because that's the way stories are told," And they kind of joke about it and move on. They hang a lampshade on it and move on. So that I thought the way they made it feel like a story that was written by a kid was so authentic.
Yeah.
So amazing.
And that's one of the things that I was really intrigued about is, the plot. It's like when I was watching it, I knew what was going to happen. I knew that this was going to happen, that was going to happen, that was going to happen. But yet I was continuously surprised by the little things they throw in there.
Yeah,
and
me too.
And like you're saying, all the key plot points and stuff are what we're used to. But like you said, they did it in such a way that it sort of put a little different spin on it, and all those different spins really made it its own movie, and it was just fun to watch. I mean, just entertaining. Who cares if you know what's going on? It's all the little twists and spins and little nuances that they add in there. Like you said, it's all very childlike, even though it might have a deeper theme to it.
And they put little twists on it here and there, but it still stayed true to what we know about these cliches or these story moments or whatever you want to call them. It still the heart felt very true to it.
Were any of you surprised by the ending when Will Ferrell shows up? I mean, everyone was shocked. I mean, my mouth dropped the moment that he showed up. I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I wonder where this is going.
Yeah, well, I definitely have to say that that was one of the things that really surprised me was at the end when he falls out of Legoland and I didn't expect that. It was it's like I said, it's sort of like watching in a dream, It's like you just go with the flow, and whenever stuff happens, you just have to accept it. And I was just so surprised by that. And then when Will Ferrell marched down those steps, I had to laugh with the rest of the audience. That was a pretty good twist they did there.
Yeah, my audience just laughed hysterically the moment he showed up. Because like, what is he gonna do now? Don't do it.
And I can so relate to the kid because I've been to. When I was about his age, I went to a guy's house, and he was a friend of my dad's, and he had the same thing. He had his basement with all of his Lego sets he put together, and he had them all on the shelves, but you weren't supposed to touch them. So, so I could definitely relate with what the kid was doing, and so I got a kick out of that as well. And some other nuances to the story that I can really appreciate just because of my childhood, but we can talk about that later.
I was not surprised, but I was, they put all those little hints in going into the movie with the quote unquote relics. You've got the Band-Aid, you've got the crazy glue, you've got the in the vision, and you see all this kind of stuff. It takes place in our world. It's not everything's Lego, and there's nothing else. This does take place in our world, but we don't. The whole story. We know little bits and pieces of it, but I went, okay, I see what they're doing now.
So what were some, this movie is actually filled with so many little Easter eggs here and there of Legos, but one of the things I mentioned earlier was that I was actually kind of shocked that it wasn't as nostalgic as I thought it was. I mean, the Legos that I grew up, collecting and buying were the early 90s to early 2000s. That was when, like the Western set and the marine biologist Lego set, and then there was what were some other ones? There were some UFO ones.
Johnny Thunders.
Yeah. Johnny Thunder had a few seconds on screen.
Yeah. I saw him real briefly, and then he was gone. Like, wait a minute, come back! I need to look. But were there any big surprises or were there any fan favorite Lego sets?
Yeah, I didn't have a favorite specifically, but there was one little detail that they put in that I loved, and that's on 80 Spaceman. You see his helmet is cracked right there at the chin, and those helmets, that specific one, if you remember, would always crack right there. Like, that's because he would step on them or whatever, and they would crack right there, every single one of them.
That's hilarious.
And so I thought that was really funny, and he's kind of chewed up and old, like some of your old Legos and stuff. I thought that those touches were amazing.
I have to say that the thing that I just really appreciated them putting in there was just 1/4 second that you saw the Bionicle logo that they sort of flipped on screen during
We
that
don't
one
talk
section.
about that.
But, hey, come on, Bionicle.
Let him talk.
That's what they said. We don't talk about it. That's what they said in the movie.
Yeah, well, they could have made that totally
Prejudice.
much more epic, and because giant robots smashing into the tower anyway.
They could have. Pluto.
No, just Bionicle.
But anyway, did you guys kind of found that it wasn't as nostalgic as like you guys maybe thought it could have been maybe?
Well, I noticed that they did have the Batman Lego figure, and I knew they had some of the superhero Lego figures.
Yeah.
And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Lego figures, and
some of them are recent.
So in that instance, I sort of knew that it was going to be aimed more towards the newer generation, but again, they did stick some like the
Classic ones.
the NBA.
Yeah.
Yes. Did those have like the springs in them, like in the legs, like you pull them back and they throw the basketball or something like that?
Yeah.
They did. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was just going to say nostalgic. I knew the director because I'm a fan of Cloudy 1. I haven't seen Cloudy 2. And I'm a fan of the guy's sense of humor. It's very, very quick and goofy and off the wall and very kid-like. And I thought that's what I was looking for mostly in the movie, more so than anything nostalgic. So it didn't underwhelm in expectations because of that. I wasn't expecting something super nostalgic. And I got some good stuff with Will Ferrell and his son and all that. So, yeah.
Let's talk about the cast. I mean, this cast was pretty awesome to say the least. I mean, you had Chris Pratt, you had Elizabeth Banks, who I don't know who that is. You also had Morgan Freeman. Will Arnett's Batman, I think, stole the show. I'm going to say it. I think Will Arnett's Batman stole the show on this one. I think he's a better Batman than Christian Bale's Batman any day of the week.
As far as a parody of Christian Bale, yes, definitely.
He's going to be better.
I don't think Christian Bale could parody himself better than this guy did. That's for sure.
This guy's going to be better than what Ben Affleck's going to bring in the Batman and Superman movie.
Very true. Now, I was surprised that Liam Neeson, his good guy cop, I just never could picture him doing something like that. And it just makes me smile every time the good guy would talk.
When I saw the trailers and when I saw the movie itself, I actually thought that was somebody else. I'm like, is that Liam Neeson? I would try to listen closely, and then I heard that accent in his voice. I'm like, oh yeah, that's him. He wanted to take a break from torturing people and all that stuff, and he decided.
Well,
and telling people that he's going to find them and kill them.
Yeah.
if you touch my daughter.
When Liam Neeson's when the good cop or bad cop and Batman show up, I thought he was gonna at one moment do a little reference to Batman Begins, and then they was like, hey, wait a minute, didn't I train you or something like that?
And dumb, Master Builder.
No, I Master Builder.
Oh, so you've never heard of the prophecy?
No,
or the special?
No,
You're a liar. We'll kill you.
Look, I watch a lot of cop shows on TV. Isn't there supposed to also be Isn't there supposed to be a good cop?
Oh, yes, but we're not done yet.
Hi, buddy. I'm your friendly neighborhood police officer. Would you like a glass of water?
Yeah, actually. That's
Too bad.
Trey, were you impressed with the animation?
Well, I think that I think the whole movie was CGI. I don't think anything was stop motion. I think they drew a lot from stop motion, mainly in the style, because I think that's really what they were trying to go for. They wanted it to look like real Legos, and they hit that on the head. I mean, just with the close ups, you can see all the little indents and stuff on the Lego bricks and the lighting, the way the lighting sort of shimmered and reflected off of the different surfaces, and so it was just so much fun seeing all these different surfaces, and they look exactly like they do in real life, except for Emmett's hair, which didn't look anything like it should have. But other than that, I mean, it was just astounding. You have the big old water tower would fall over, and all the water is Legos, and they're racing down water rapids, and all the water's Lego bricks, and you can see the different Lego bricks. When he takes a shower, they're Lego bricks, and when he's shaving, Lego bricks. The smoke and the fire, they're all Lego bricks, and it was just really cool. The way they had all this character movement, and yet made it look like it was a real Lego figure doing all this. There's some instances where I go, well, I know that Legos can't really move like that, but when you're watching it, you can't really tell when they sort of fudge on the real physics of a Lego figure, and I think that's really what comes down to them showing forth how good they were. They're able to bend the rules and break the rules, and you still didn't catch that when you're watching it, and that's what just made it so much fun to watch. And the stuff that they cram pack in the background, I mean, even if you didn't really enjoy the movie the first time, going back and seeing it a second time is you just have to in order to be able to look into the background, to look at all the little things that they added in there. Again, I was talking about the little spins and little quirks that they do even with the main things in the foreground, but they did the same thing with the background stuff, and it was a pure pleasure just watching the movie. It was just great.
Yeah, definitely.
For a certain scene, and especially toward the beginning, I think they wanted to wow people with the animation immediately, and I think they definitely succeeded there, and then they kind of cohesively flowed into the story. And I think one of the things with that was they wanted to wow the adults who were in the audience. They wanted to say, hey guys, stay off your phone. We're actually going to entertain you too.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the quick ways you can catch an adult is by doing something that animation-wise they've never seen before.
Yeah.
Because there's so much that looks identical out there in children's films these days, and I don't consider this a children's film so much as a family film because so much gets thrown into children's films these days. But people like us who aren't even young kids anymore, we can really enjoy stuff that's at this caliber because the storytelling is so good.
I think for the most part, because I do believe that they did a combination of the two, but I think like some of the action scenes, like the big action set pieces and all that stuff, I think those were definitely CGI moments. And I think even when the elbow joints would move in a certain direction, that's not common with the Lego figures. I think those were CGI, unless they got special pieces for that. Which
I seriously doubt, but yeah.
But yeah. Now, one of the things about this movie that I wanted to bring up was, concerning the ending. I actually had a conversation, and I asked him about the ending because the way that the movie ends, we talked about this earlier. So you find out that all this is in the real world, that there's a boy and a father played by Will Ferrell, and then Will Ferrell is kind of very strict with his son that he should not play with it. But then as that whole little subplot begins to unravel, you kind of find out that no, Legos are meant to be played with. That's the sole purpose of Legos. And being creative and all that stuff. Yes, you can display these and all you want, but that's not what Legos were made for. That's what, they were meant to be played with. I asked him about a biblical similarity there, or a godly parallel there, and he said, yeah, there was this kind of like the Father was supposed to be God, and the Son was kind of like Jesus Christ, and then in a way, and then the Legos represent humanity, and then he kind of made this interesting point, saying like it's kind of in a way like the Father had all these rules and regulations, and then God, of course, is a God of rules and all that stuff. We must abide by certain things. But the interesting thing was that he said, yeah, but then they were kind of trying to make the point that we need to bend the rules a little bit. You kind of get what I'm saying, guys?
Well, I think you have to be careful when you try to draw parallels between something. This is made by total seculars, by non-Christians. So I think that while there are places where we can draw parallels between the Bible and movies we watch and stuff, I think that it might not register to them. It's not like the guy was writing like, "Oh, this is going to make fun of Christians."
No.
This represents Christ, and this represents God, and this represents the law, and haha, I'm going to mess with their doctrine. I think that it wasn't necessarily on purpose for it to come out like that.
No.
And I think we do have to be careful when we're trying to draw parallels, but we don't just draw any parallel that we might think might be a parallel. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
No, I get what you're saying, and my interpretation of the ending was what I just said. The purpose of Legos is to be creative and to play with them. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just found that kind of an interesting kind of parallel that he made. Does it stick? I might have to see I might have to see the movie again to judge it on that. But
real quick, let me just say that not every creation relationship parallels to God, really, because we are sinners and God is not. And essentially, what I'm just trying to say is, many people automatically draw those parallels, and they're never going to 100% line up. They're never going to even 80% line up, because it's a completely different thing when a creation thing that is a compilation of the other created things. It's a different kind of responsibility that you have of your creation. It's a different kind of there are different rules surrounding it than the rules that God has set up for Himself in governing us. And so that's where I would say, no, it really doesn't line up.
Yeah, and I think this has more to do with the idea of more of a human or parental or governmental idea of rules and regulations being too strict and strangling those underneath, as opposed to this being more spiritual. I think we as Christians tend to think things more spiritually, so that's why we have a tendency to try to draw correlations between spiritual ideas. But for these seculars, like I was saying, they're more worldly thinking. They're thinking of parents having all these rules and regulations, and the kids should bend the rules. They should try to convince their parents that these rules aren't good. And I think it has more to do with that than Nathaniel was thinking. But maybe the writers were thinking at a more spiritual level, and they're just trying to stick it in a kids' movie. They do that too. So
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised either way.
So, yeah, I mean, again, this type of stuff happens with a lot of kids movies. If somebody can try to get a point across in a very subtle way, they'll do it. So it's happened before. But anyway, we'll just go ahead and continue. So this movie ends on a really interesting. Would you say it's a cliffhanger? Because you got the Duplo Legos showing up at the end.
Duplos are beast.
Yeah, would any of you guys like to see a sequel?
I'm all up for it. I mean, again, I have a tendency that sequels are very hard to do because, people go, "Oh, I want it to be just like the first one," but every time you get a refill, it gets a little more watered down. But people still want it to taste like the first one. It just doesn't work out like that. So I think that if they can do something unique plot-wise that made it flow pretty well, I mean, you got different sequels. You got direct sequels where like Episode 1, 2, and 3 of Star Wars, and if they did something like that, I don't see how they could do something like that. But I think they also have to be careful. If you have a sequel that has nothing to do with the first one, then it's not really a sequel. It's just a new movie with the same named characters, and it just doesn't work out as well. So I think I would want to go see it, but I'm hesitant to say it's going to be as good as the first one.
Okay.
I would totally love to see one just because I think it would be fun and funny, and I love the stuff this director does. This is what I would. I'll go ahead and say this in a very, very quick way. But sequel-wise, what do you do in this situation? This one was about what? Theory, about making this so oppressive and following the instructions all the time when really we should be playing. What did we have at the ending? We had a very chaotic sibling come in, one who doesn't follow instructions at all. one who goes completely crazy with everything that they build and don't care and aren't actually trying to use their imagination or do anything real. You go with the chaos style, and there's chaos coming into these worlds of Legos. Things are getting knocked over like crazy, by these natural disasters, quote unquote, which are really just the young daughter knocking over buildings and kicking stuff and throwing a tantrum. And you show that there has to be some structure there and the imagination going into it. Please, by all means, if you're listening, directors, somehow, some way, take my ideas. They're free.
Really good, yeah. Proof of that statement.
So are you saying that the Duplos are going to be the Duplos Lego figures are going to be the agents of chaos in the Lego Movie
Absolutely. 2? Duplos are so incredibly chaotic.
Agents of chaos.
Duplos are evil.
So we're calling it then. So the Lego Movie 2 is going to be the Dark Knight of this series, I guess, maybe.
Hey, Emmett is the hero that she deserves.
Yeah. That's a look.
I got that was hilarious.
Who would you like to see them bring in as a big character in the second one? Name anybody.
Like a
character? Toa, of course, gotta have Toa. Because think of it, Duplos are bigger. They need some bigger figures, sort of giant figures to fight them off. The original 6 Toa. I'm seeing it. Giant robots. Everyone loves giant robots. Toas, Bionicles, or
Godzilla
sort of robots. Yeah.
Godzilla.
Okay.
Why not?
Well, let's see. They bought an IP recently. Lego did, and it was a very different one. I was surprised that it was like a PG-13 movie. Maybe it was Pirates of the Caribbean, but there were some other ones. I think Lego sort of spread in its IPs.
How long until we get Mario Legos?
That'd be awesome.
Oh, they do. It's just not Lego. It's like
one of the ripoff companies.
Ion or something.
You can get Doctor Who Legos, some of the knockoffs.
Oh wow.
Man, we'll see. We'll see where Lego's going.
I wouldn't mind seeing like them bringing in some Lord of the Rings characters like a Legolas and Gimli. That would be kind of cool. And
Aragorn does a big old speech to rally the troops against the Duplos.
Voiced by Viggo Mortensen. That would be awesome. Who would be opposed to that?
Well, what they need to do is they need to do Aragorn, and they need to have a Hidalgo type cowboy guy. And he needs to do
Hidalgo.
No, this would be awesome. Get Harrison Ford and have him voice Han Solo and Indiana Jones, the Lego character versions.
And what he wants.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. Or let's see, what would be some other really fun characters?
Spider-Man.
Yeah. Who was I thinking of? I was thinking of not the Mummy guy. Anyway.
Jack Stone?
No, they just need to have some really fun adventure type characters. They need to have like Lord of the Rings, make it a trilogy, just some epic quest with a bunch of really cool characters. That's what they need to do.
That'd be cool.
Go where we can't be found.
Maybe we could go underwater?
What if we went underwater?
Great idea, babe. Thank you, Batman. Your ideas are the best.
But hey, I just said that.
We could build a submarine.
Bat submarine patent pending.
With the rainbows.
And dream catchers in case we take a nap.
Like an underwater spaceship.
But you can't build all of them at once.
Ready? Break.
Okay.
These are the colors I need. Blue raspberry and sour apple.
If anybody has black parts, I need them, okay? I only work in black. And sometimes very, very dark gray.
Use the yellow bricks.
You guys, can I help?
Oh, it has to be this way. No, I need that.
Where is he?
I really like this movie a lot. I would give it a recommend for families. I think it's a really good family movie. If you want to go see something this week, go see it instead of RoboCop, maybe. And whatever else is coming out this week. But
now, I do have to say that there's I figured that there would be some crudity in it, but I was thankful that there wasn't as much crudity as they could have put in, especially in the previews. There was more crudity in the previews than there were in the actual Lego movie, and that was really refreshing. Also, it was really refreshed by the lack of cussing necessarily. Sometimes they'll slip one or two words in it, even though it's a kids' movie. But yeah, there are some substitute words that I don't agree with and that I don't use. And they used a lot of those, like gosh and golly and darn and stuff. But it was a very clean general movie, and it was refreshing.
I would recommend this to just about anybody. This is one that, if you don't like the standard, kids story or whatever, the comedy will still win you over because it is that funny. This is the funniest comedy I've seen in years.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like comedy, then there's other things. If you like animation, there's something. It's just about anything there, as long as it's not crude, lowest common denominator or like serious drama. Those are the two things that aren't in this. But there is some serious peril where you feel it, you feel the action, and you enjoy it. So, by anyone who just loves a fun movie, definitely go see.
Oh my gosh, I love this song!
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when we're part of the team. Everything is awesome when we're living our dream.
Always use a turn signal. Park between the lines. Yes! Drop off dry cleaning before noon. Read the headlines. Don't forget to smile. Always root for the local sports team.
Go sports team!
Always return a compliment. Hey, you look nice.
So do you.
Drink overpriced coffee.
There you go. That's $37.
Awesome!
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when we're part of the team. Everything is awesome when we're living our dream.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Story to Screen podcast. Thank you very much, Trey, for coming on. We'll be happy to have you on again in the future.
I'm glad to be here.
So thank you for coming on to review our show. Josh, thank you for all the work that you do on your side, and thank you to the two of you for coming onto the show. But anyway, so we're going to wrap it up. I am your host, Chris.
I'm Trey.
And I'm Josh.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll catch you next week with Fireproof as we continue with our review of the Sherwood Pictures series. So, take care, everybody.
The best skim milk, white bread, done my homework weeks ahead. Skipping stones and best friend braces, lemonade. I like to make it. Rough recycling, mountain biking. Let's